Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicolas Aguirre, and I'm going to be doing a presentation for you guys for my public speaking class. So first off, I want to ask, for those of you at home, is there a TV show you guys binge watch that has anything to do with drugs or anything exciting with like the cartel or anything like that? Well, what if I told you there was a show just like that, something similar to Narcos Mexico or Señor de los Cielos? What if I told you that show took place in real life? Well, that show and the events I'm referring to are the Opium Wars. Now, the Opium Wars were events that happened about 200 years ago at this point, and they're not. I don't know, history is not everyone's forte, but we are in quarantine, so we might as well learn something new. You learn something new every day. So I have done a lot of lengthy research, and I have written a very lengthy paper as well in regards to the Opium Wars. I've consulted not many historians, but many historical websites, so to say, and I've done a large amount of research about this. So today I will be talking to you guys about the Opium Wars and what they actually were. So today I'll be talking to you guys about what the Opium Wars were, what opium actually is, what the drug is, and the impacts of the war throughout history. So the Opium Wars were based around three big things. First off, they were based around the poor treatment of merchants, a surging market for opium, and poor diplomatic relations between Britain and China. You can see here the first Opium War started in 1839, and this mainly started with the war on drugs between China and Britain. Britain was the one that was importing drugs and opium into China. Obviously, the Chinese didn't like that. In 1942, that's when the war actually ended with the signings of the treaties of Nanjing. These treaties were completely unequal and completely unfair, and eventually gave way and caused the Second War. The Second War officially started with the attack and the siege of the Arrow naval ship, and it was the official start in 1857. The end of the Second War ended in 1860. So there were many effects after that, and as you can see, it was about 2 decades long. So very, very lengthy war. So now, at this point, you might be thinking, what even is opium? What's the big deal? So opium it's an actual plant, and it says here, it's the poppy seeds found in the Papaver somniferum. Try saying that 5 times fast. Anyways, the thing with the actual plant itself is you can get the seeds and you can turn them into a dried latex. You can then smoke it from there, and when it is mixed with morphine, that's what creates heroin. So do what you will with that. Besides that, at the time in the 1800s, India, which was a big British colony, that was the prime place to be farming and creating these plants. This was the biggest place of importation of the opium seeds and the poppy seeds themselves. So now, what's the big holdup with the opium? Why is it such a big thing? Well, the thing was, Britain at the time, they were paying millions to China, millions of dollars to be importing their tea. Obviously, Britain and England, being the giant imperialistic power that they were at the time, didn't like that. So they found a counter market. What was that counter market? It was opium. They founded their counter market off of the backs of drug addicted citizens from Canton and other parts of inland China. So it was a price to pay, but imperialism, am I right? So now that you have an idea of what the war was and what opium is, I'll now explain to you the impacts the Opium Wars had. So one of the impacts. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to move that. So one of the impacts that the wars had was it started the century of humiliation of China. The treaties of Nanjing, as mentioned earlier, were very, very bad treaties, and they were very unequal. They mainly benefited Britain, and they didn't have much effect positively on the Chinese. If anything, it kind of ruined them. Besides that, it also started the era of unequal treaties, as I mentioned before. There weren't just one treaty; there were 2 treaties actually. There was one in the Second War. This also altered the course of history. many historians and historical websites that I've seen and done research on have stated that if it were not for these wars, the Chinese would have been a bigger imperialistic power, and if not, they would have become a stronger world power earlier on. These wars prevented that, and so it ultimately changed the course of history. So do what you will with that information. So with all that being said, here's a quick recap. So here's a quick recap. Today I've talked to you guys about what the Opium Wars actually are, what the importance of the Opium Wars, and what opium actually is, the effects the wars had, and why it was such a big deal at the time. So to leave you off, I leave you guys with a quote about imperialism. It is by Mahatma Gandhi, and it says, "Imperialism is the negotiation of God. It does ungodly acts in the name of God." That is a quote by the great Mahatma Gandhi. Here's a quote by me, Nicolas Aguirre Zafiro, living in quarantine. Eat the rich. So go eat your local billionaire. Thank you all. Have a good day.